Nick Freitas champions opportunity for all Virginians. In the General Assembly, Nick fought for better access to quality, affordable health care, lower taxes so you keep more of your paycheck, and to remove red tape to make it easier for jobs and businesses to recover. Vote Nick Freitas for U.S. Congress on Tuesday, November 3rd. Americans for Prosperity Action is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by Americans for Prosperity Action and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.afpaction.com.
Abortions after unborn babies can feel pain even up until the moment of birth. A baby born alive after an abortion allowed to die. Tax dollars for abortionists. Just some of the extreme agenda of pro-abortion politicians. Learn how the candidates stand before you vote on November 3rd. Get your candidate comparison at vshl.org. Don't let pro-abortion politicians enact their deadly agenda. Cast an informed vote. Get the candidate comparison at vshl.org.
I'm Scott Taylor, and I approve this message. I spent my time as a Navy SEAL fighting for a cause greater than myself. In the deserts of Iraq, I fought for the guy next to me, the people back home, and our American ideals. But Elaine Luria and the radical left are casting away all that we sacrificed for. They want to tear America apart. Lawlessness and violence aren't the answer. The chaos we are witnessing destroys our businesses, puts the safety of our families and communities at risk, and diminishes the greatness of our nation. I'll always fight for our men and women in uniform. I'll never defund them. And I promise to always stand up for our flag. Our small businesses need a voice, someone who will fight for them. I'll be their champion. And I'll help our economy, create jobs, and keep taxes low to help our hardworking families. There's no doubt this election will determine the direction of our nation. So I'm humbly asking for your vote. Paid for by Scott Taylor for Congress.
John Fredericks Radio Network and the John Fredericks Radio app. Don't forget, go to the Virginia Star. The Virginia Star, hottest thing out there. All news, all about Virginia and nationally. The Virginia Star, every day. We got it. Real news, real people. Now, we need poll watchers. Steve Bannon coming up momentarily. We need poll watchers. You know the Democrats are going to try to steal the election. They can't beat us on game day, but they're going to try to steal it. That's what they do. So we need poll watchers. If you're in Virginia, you want to be a poll watcher, and you get paid too. Here's the easiest thing to do. Email my deputy in Virginia of the Trump campaign. Great guy. Riley, get right back to you. Riley.mahoney@gmail.com. Riley, you know how to spell that with an E. Mahoney, honey, Riley.mahoney@gmail.com. Say, hey, I want info on being a poll watcher. Here's where I live. And Riley will set you up and get you squared away and get you everything you need to be a poll watcher. Riley.mahoney@gmail.com. Riley.mahoney@gmail.com. Email him now. Anybody of your friends, we need poll watchers so they don't steal this out from under our noses on Election Day. We got a lot in. We got a lot more to go. We need poll watchers. Riley.mahoney@gmail.com. Joining me now, Stephen K. Bannon, former White House strategist, President Trump, also chairman, Trump campaign 2016, engineered the victory. Steve, great to have you.
Thanks for having me on, John.
Okay, mobilization, and now stop the Great Blue Steal. By the way, we're trying to get you, Steve. I just talked to your team. I'm trying to get you to do an event for us on the Great Blue Steal, like you did Saturday in Orange, Saturday night, October 24th in Chesapeake. I think we're going to get that worked out, and I'm going to encourage everybody when I get this up on Facebook and set. You got to check this out because, Steve, I thought your 45 minutes in Orange for the Young Republican Federation Saturday night, the way you outlined exactly what the Democrats are going to do was absolutely stellar, and we need to get this message out, Steve.
Well, look, you 24/7 to work it out with a team. I'd love to go. I thought that the event in Orange was fantastic. They're the right group of people, the right size given the pandemic, and we live streamed it into Epic Times showed up. The great paper Epic Times showed up and live streamed it into Hong Kong for a Sunday morning, and it got millions of views, and then went into mainland China. I think they actually subtitled it and got tens of millions of views. So people are hungry for this content, and it's I thought a spectacular event. I'll do anything you need, Virginia. Look, Virginia's not on the short list, but Virginia could definitely be turned. It's all about just putting elbow grease in it. So,
well, look, we're getting the resources we need. I told them we don't need TV ads. Waste of time. Nobody can name. I've challenged my audience for a month. Name me anybody in your sphere of influence that work with, talk to, go to the water cooler with, baseball game. That has not made their mind up. Everybody's made their mind up here in Virginia.
Right.
You're either going to vote. It's either Orange Man bad or you're going to vote for Trump. So now we got to get our people out. It's all about mobilization. I just got $2 million of new lit. We got that. I just got $250,000 in signs. That's what we need. We need mobilization. Last time in the campaign, I followed the Investors Business Daily TIPP poll, which I thought was the only one that was giving us an accurate gauge on voters. They did their first one. It came out Monday, shows Biden up by 12. Not a good sign. What is going on here?
Well, I think nationally, if you take nationally, you load in California, Illinois, New York, maybe throw New Jersey in there, you're going to get these. You're going to get on these national polls. I've never paid attention to national polls except very early on in primaries, where it gives you an indication of name recognition. I think you got to look at the state by state polls. You got to do the analysis of the early voting, and just focus on what you can control, and that's voter turnout right now. Look, I disagree. And, I got great respect for the guys in the campaign. I think Stepien, Jason Miller, Greg Mann, Steve Cortez, the rest of the team over there. It's fantastic. And I realize the president has very strong opinions about this. But, I'm not a fan of the rally yesterday. And I'm not a fan of putting TV ads up. I think TV ads are come down. I'm just not buying that low propensity voters, mid propensity voters are swayed right now by TV ads, particularly where you're going to get outspent 5 and 6 to 1 anyway. So I would have liked to, my opinion is I'd rather have that crowd at Sanford, which was amazing and a huge turnout. I'd rather have those guys working phone banks and going door to door or spread them out throughout the rest of Florida. And people say, well, they could do that. And I go, yeah, it's motivational. Okay, I'll buy that. But, you lost a day. And right now we don't have days. Days are weeks, weeks are months. Right, you're within 3 weeks now, and it's time to get on with it. And it's all about mobilization. It's all about turnout. It's all about getting low propensity voters to, it's all about getting low propensity voters to get out and vote. And to me, it ought to be a maniacal focus on that and leveraging the president. I think they got 450 hours until voting, or to the end of election day. And I think that every second of his time ought to be completely tied to some sort of digital outreach, leveraging the great surrogates he's gotten in Virginia. John Fredericks is fantastic. You got Corey Lewandowski, you got Laura Trump, you got Ivanka Trump, you got Don Jr., you got Kimberly Guilfoyle, you've got Rudy Giuliani. I can go on and I can give you 15 fabulous surrogates that I would just put throughout the country in mini rallies, beam the president in digitally, and put a news hook, force the mainstream media to cover this, because yesterday they're covering the rally as a super spreader event. I mean, just go back and look at the MSNBC coverage and the CNN coverage. It's a super spreader event to do one thing, to try to get the over 60 voter, the over 65-year-old vote, to suppress that enthusiasm for President Trump. And I think that is, we can't play. I think we should not play into that right now. And I just, the rallies were fantastic in 2016. They were central to the strategy. This is a different time, a different campaign, and I'm just a huge advocate of, we don't need rallies right now. What we need is touch points. And, this is all about getting people out. Literally, this is a non-glamorous, process you have to do right now. And, I saw the rally yesterday. I thought it was great. I thought his ad-libs were better than the speech. And I know he likes it and gets pumped up about it, and that's great. But I think I think it's the time to get practical. And I think some of the things, to be honest, has not been practical here. The stimulus thing was a screw-up by his team back in July, right? We should have had the stimulus, and that should have been done and put to bed. And we should have never allowed Biden to get off the hook of not getting on a national stage with him. Although I agree digitally is not as good as in person, particularly for a town hall. However, digitally, as speaking, because I do it all the time, speaking into a camera for these Zoom or Skype, things we got thousands of people on the other side is far tougher for a speaker than sitting in an audience where you see the audience reaction. You graft off the audience chemistry, and I thought Joe Biden would have. He fades very quickly after the third sentence. The fourth sentence is not related to anything, and I thought that would be helpful. But look, these are it is what it is. You got a great campaign. I know Steppe and these guys are very smart. You got Justin, you got Justin Clark, you got Carr, you got just some great people over there. So, I know they've got their shoulder to the wheel. And look, let's be honest, the polling's tough, but this is doable. It's very doable, and particularly, it's very doable to put up a big win on the night of election, because still what the mainstream media does not want to talk about. They want to talk about poll watching, how Trump's trying to suppress votes and all this stuff. What they're not talking about is that they have traumatized their mainstream media. The Chris Cuomos, the Anderson Coopers, the Rachel Maddows have traumatized their base with mass hysteria. So people want to mail in votes, and that's these votes are going to have to be certified. It's going to be an election administration nightmare, and we're going to have to see how that plays out.
One of the key things that Corey Lewandowski said, senior advisor of the campaign right now, is that he said in Florida, for instance, he just take that as an example. They're very bullish there. He said that in Florida they need 1.4 million mail-in ballots. Like, they did the math, and they need 1.4 million Democratic mail-in ballots in order to win in Florida or even be competitive. He said right now they're way under that, and he said the same thing in North Carolina. The number of mail-in ballots they need is way under what they have to have. And he said that's why they're now going and knocking on doors. That's why Biden, he said, voted in person. Remember, he didn't vote by mail. They made a big thing with the media that he voted in person. He said because the calculations are off. The campaign also said that 20% of people historically that get a ballot in the mail don't mail it back. So he said 80% are only going to come in. He said even if you juiced it by 5, because people are so much more aware now, maybe you're going to get 85. But he said 15% are never going to come back. He said that's the Democrats' Achilles heel in Arizona, Florida, Texas, Georgia, North Carolina. He said they were all behind there. They were going to win those all. So he said that's the spinal cord: Texas, Arizona, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina. And then they were confident they were gonna win Maine, Bangor, that one. So, but Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin, if Biden runs a table on that, what happens?
Well, here's the good news is that, look, Corey's correct in one regard, is that the Democrats have panicked, and you've seen this now. They've panicked about relying too much. They've traumatized their base too much. Relying on this mail-in, I think, got them spooked. They've shifted tremendous resources in trying to get out the vote for game day. They also understand that a what I call the bold red predicate of a Trump victory 10 or 11 o'clock that night is going to be virtually impossible to unwind, because we're not going to steal it right in the counting rooms, because we're going to be fully manned up in the counting rooms. And as I continue to say, every ballot that can be certified has to count. This is not about has nothing to do with trying to have voter suppression. We want more people to vote, but you got to vote in the correct way, right? So it's totally legit. So it's certifiable. I think they're in panic mode to get out and particularly use early voting to do that, and we'll have to see how that plays out. But they've shifted resources. I think it's very tough for them structurally to do that, given the unions and given they've traumatized people about going door to door. Remember, low propensity voters are low propensity for a reason, right? Those voters are the voters that have come out in the last 3 cycles. A lot of them came out and supported Obama in the 2, and they were definitely some of the Trump voters in 16. And so those low propensity voters are not easy to get to. Even mid propensity, what they call kind of sporadic voters, are not easy to get to. And you've got to have an effort. I believe that the RNC under Ronna McDaniel and the campaign have and outside groups. Outside groups have been amazing. The door knock. When I talk to these young Republicans, I talked to the Young Republican Federation the other night on my tour. They had done 10 million door knocks or phone banks to make contact. I mean, it's incredible the efforts that gone in with all the outside groups to do. Ralph Reed told me it's the biggest effort they've ever had. Right, so you're seeing all these groups to do this, and I think it's enormously important. We're going to have to see the Democrats are throwing resources in there. I do like that Southern, what he calls the spine, is the thing that the Democrats thought that they could expand the map, particularly in places like Georgia, places like
not going to happen.
Arizona.
Not going to happen.
Well, let's have everybody show up to game day. I think by feeling they secure that now, particularly Florida, will give them time to focus on. And the one thing they should not take their eye off of is Pennsylvania. And to me, it's just not acceptable for us to lose Pennsylvania. Joe Biden is a total phony. He is not a populist. He's not an economic nationalist. He is a neoliberal that has supported all the Wall Street, every Wall Street debacle, right, in the last 20 or 30 years. Joe Biden's been at the cutting edge of it, including the Obama administration, the bailouts. And not just that, what happened financially to get out of to get the continuation of what Obama administration did to get out of the crash of 2008, and also as a neocon, he has not found a war he didn't like,
right.
And to me, it boggles my mind in Northeast Pennsylvania where this is going to come down to, why we're letting him run free up there and not crushing him every day as the phony that he is. Not a socialist. He's not a socialist. I think playing that out is just people are not going to buy it. He's not a socialist, but he's worse than a socialist. Right, he's a globalist, and that should be hammered home relentlessly every day. And it's not, and it's got to be. That's what's going to win. Lackawanna County and Luzerne County and Pike County, and I've been giving these talks every day to these groups, and these are Second Amendment guys, strong Second Amendment people. This is the backbone deplorables. A lot of them are registered Democrats, and they're Trump supporters, and they can go get. And a lot of these people are on the fence now, because they've heard, talk out of this administration. They haven't seen some of the actions they wanted. So you got to get up there and make the case. If you do that, you're going to win. I don't think in Philadelphia. I mean, the key is how many net positive votes you come out in Philadelphia in 2016. It was 500,000. That was 350,000 less than the Clinton campaign had figured on. And the reason was that they were arrogant in concluding that the African American vote would support them like Obama, and they, quite frankly, they didn't focus on really the what I say is the real economic needs of the African American community, and people just said, I'm not going to vote for this anymore. That essentially, with the great performance of President Trump and the rest of the state, gave us the 42,000 win. Look, people shouldn't lose fact, and this is one of the things I've always criticized. We drew an inside straight in 16, okay? We drew an inside straight. Now, we earned that inside straight because people focused on what we needed to do. We didn't let the polls get up. Remember, we were 12, 14 points down coming out of the, when I stepped in, I think we were 12 or 14 down. We tied it and went one up on the day of the first debate in Hofstra, because President Trump had hammered things, gone to Mexico, done the great immigration wall speech in Phoenix, gone to Flint, Michigan, places she wouldn't go. He proved to people that, hey, I like this guy. This guy's a disruptor. This guy's going to do something. Then we had the Billy Bush fiasco, where everybody ran to the hills, and then he pulled it back around with maniacal focus in the last 3 weeks, maniacal focus on exactly where we had to go. And we could see around Youngstown, Ohio, and some of these places that share a demographic, and I kept saying, if this flips, it's all going to flip, and it did. And that's because of the great work of Bill Stepien and people that are there today that really laser focused in on where we needed to go and what we needed to do. Now, unfortunately, the rallies strategy is just not, here today because of the CCP virus. And
but they're not going to back off on that. They're not going to back off on that, Steve, because on the conference call yesterday, which was open, it was on the record. On the conference call yesterday, Jason Miller specifically said that, because we asked him about the rallies, and he specifically said that the president had emailed him or texted him or something that morning and said, hey, I don't have enough rallies. So it's obvious the president wants to do these. He still thinks it's centerpiece, this strategy. They're planning them in areas they need. I mean, I'm going to one Thursday night in Greenville at East Carolina University, Greenville, North Carolina, about 3 south of Richmond. So, I mean, he's going there to the hangars. They're going to these hangars. But apparently they think this strategy.
I'd rather have John Fredericks spending his Saturday working a phone bank, and that's just reasonable.
I mean, but it is what it is. I mean, this is what they're going to do.
Well, it doesn't.
I don't think the president change it.
I disagree with it. It is what it is. This is where you have to have. This is where sometimes you have to sit down and have blunt and hard conversations. I mean that. I think
you're right.
Rally, I think the rally situation.
The rally should be done by the surrogates.
Yes.
Here's
what. Listen, Joe Biden has no surrogates. There's literally nobody going out supporting, including his vice president's a terrible surrogate. Right? He's got nobody. He's got himself wandering around to these things like in Arizona where nobody shows up. Okay. We have 20, and I don't mean good. I mean great. I got from Laura Trump to Don Jr. to Kimberly to everybody in the family. You got 6 or 7 people in the family. You got then all the way down with Corey and Rudy and all these guys off the campaign in 16 down to the John Fredericks. Right, you make the top 20. That's and you can highly target these people. Right, that's hey. Is it going to be 25,000 people? No, it's not. Do we need 25,000 people? No, we don't. What we need is some sort of motivation, and everything ought to be tied to an early voter. You got to have an early voter pass, or you've got to have your card that you're working a phone bank. It's all got to be action oriented. I don't need the message of, particularly to these rally goers, are all the hardcore the Trump movement, right? They've heard the shtick before. They love it. I got that, But we're now within 21 days. We've got to stop what we love and start doing what you got to eat your spinach. Right, it's time now. Eat spinach. Leave the ice cream. Ice cream is going to be on the evening of November 3rd at 11 o'clock. After you walk in the Oval, and after you tweet out and make Jack Dorsey eat the tweet. Right, you say, "Hey, guess what? I'm up. I guess this thing's over." Right, I'm so glad to put together my second term. Got to eat the tweet, Jack, because if Jack Dorsey, trust me, Jack Dorsey's not going to put that tweet up. You think he's pulling down the stuff that says I'm immune, right? He's pulling down the Trump's amazing patient zero's amazing recovery from the CCP virus. Jack Dorsey won't even put that up. You think he's going to put up when Trump claims victory on the evening of November 3rd? So my point is, let's eat spinach now, right? Eat spinach now. Eat ice cream at 11 o'clock on the 3rd, right? Called, delayed gratification, Puritan work ethic. Okay, we'll delay it. Right now, everything is just focused on one thing: getting every low propensity voter out there, right? That has an inkling of either he supports President Trump or he's uncomfortable with what he sees as these Democrats. He understands that what's going to happen is Portland, that you're going to have Indigenous People Day every day, tearing down statues, looting, everything like that. That's what's going to happen. You may not love Trump. He may think he's obnoxious. You may not like the president. You don't think he does enough on certain policies. That's fine. But it's better than the alternative. That voter's got to be dragged to the polls and vote, and you got to use force multipliers. So no, look, the rally yesterday was amazing. If you look at it rally qua rally, it was incredible. Size of the crowd, enthusiasm of the crowd, energy of the president. It was all great. The coverage is all, the coverage of the mainstream media don't cover it, and how they covered it was a super spreader event. So that the plus 65s are sitting there going, oh my God, we don't want to lose marginally, we don't want to lose one more person out of the villages. In fact, what we want to do is go back and increase our participation out of the villages and out of Sun City, Arizona, and out of these retirement places. Not play into the hands of the Chris Cuomos and the Anderson Coopers and the Rachel Maddows and the Chris Hayes. They're calling today a death cult, right? This is what they're hammering home every day. And if you're plus 65 years old and you want to live to be 85 years old, hey, that's the kind of messaging. And look, I'm not saying it's right. I think it's wrong, but I don't want to play into the hand of that. What I want to have is Corey Lewandowski down there, right? And then have the president beamed in by phone and then beamed in by video, which is very effective. And he's so powerful in that. And put a news hook and do 10 a day, 12 a day, but put a news hook in each one, right? And force the media to cover 10 a day. That they had to cover this because he had a news hook in the thing that they have to. You use it as a forcing function. You force them to cover what you want them to cover, and you do it by a news hook. So look, the guys in the campaign in the RNC, you've got, and people should know this, you've got two terrific teams that are working 24/7. And they're doing the right thing. There's paid chase going on. There's a lot of great stuff going on behind the scenes that people are just working like crazy on. And so now it's time. It's very simple. The great thing about elections is that they clarify, right? This is very clarified. There's no there's, like I said, this thing of chasing, and I think Kornacki at MSNBC has been very smart about this from the beginning. There's no undecided. President Trump has permeated not just political culture. He's permeated
no one
all
decided.
culture.
I mean, that's what we've been saying here for weeks.
Now,
and
one
we
last
challenge
thing,
anybody to name.
the Judge Barrett thing is very important to bring home. We've got to bring home the establishment Republicans. That'll lock in Arizona and some of these other places. Got to bring in Barrett's today. Make sure you watch. It's very important. The next couple of days, bring home establishment Republicans.
All right, I got to roll, but last question. My election night show, you got to be a part of it. We have to do it together.
We'll talk today. We'll do something special.
We got to get it together because everybody will tune us in across America, Steve. Everybody.
Fine. And the world. We'll get a massive audience. We'll make it a global show.
All right, done.
Teach the world democracy.
John Fredericks Radio Network. Congressman running for Congress in the 5th District, Bob Good, Republican, is next. Keep it right here. Folks, this is the most important election of our time. America itself is on the ballot. The police are on the ballot as radicals push to defund law enforcement while doing nothing to deter the looting and violence tearing apart our nation's cities. The fact is, our safety is on the ballot too, and our way of life. That's why I'm urging you to join an effort sponsored by the Job Creators Network. They're working with the biggest conservative host in America, like me. This election is about one thing: turnout. The left has their get out the vote machine now. We need ours. That's why the single most important thing you can do to save our country is go to keepamericaamerica.com. That's keepamericaamerica.com and become a volunteer in the biggest get out the vote effort in history. You'll be given tasks that can make a difference in November. Do a little, do a lot, but please do your part. Go to keepamericaamerica.com now. That's keepamericaamerica.com.
Hi, my name is Mike Dickinson, and I'm running for Richmond City Council in District 1. I'm running to help save Richmond. I want to restore law and order so we can live in peace. I want to defend the police. My opponents want to defund the police. I want to protect your Second Amendment rights. My opponents want to confiscate your guns. I will vote to end Coliseum schemes for big donors. I will fight to open our schools and businesses and put the brakes on the cronyism that robs us of safety, security, and a better quality of life. We have been under attack for months. The city has been vandalized. Our nicest areas have been turned into profanity-laced cesspools. Homes are devalued, innocent people are threatened, yet harassing and issuing indictments to police officers is the best the city of Richmond can do. I promise to change that. I ask for your vote on November 3rd to restore Richmond to the safe and vibrant city we all know and love. I'm Mike Dickinson, and I paid for this ad.
CHAP, Chap Peterson and the Eminent Domain Litigation Group. Government coming for your land? Chap Peterson and the Eminent Domain Litigation Group will defend your land and get you the money you deserve. Pipeline coming for your land? VDOT coming for your land? CHAP, Chap Peterson and the Eminent Domain Litigation Group. Call 757-446-9998.
I'm Scott Taylor, and I approve this message. I spent my time as a Navy SEAL fighting for a cause greater than myself. In the deserts of Iraq, I fought for the guy next to me, the people back home, and our American ideals. But Elaine Luria and the radical left are casting away all that we sacrificed for. They want to tear America apart. Lawlessness and violence aren't the answer. The chaos we are witnessing destroys our businesses, puts the safety of our families and communities at risk, and diminishes the greatness of our nation. I'll always fight for our men and women in uniform. I'll never defund them. And I promise to always stand up for our flag. Our small businesses need a voice, someone who will fight for them. I'll be their champion. And I'll help our economy, create jobs, and keep taxes low to help our hardworking families. There's no doubt this election will determine the direction of our nation. So I'm humbly asking for your vote. Paid for by Scott Taylor for Congress.
October 13th, 1792. In the District of Columbia, the cornerstone is laid for the Executive Mansion, what we now call the White House. Its first occupants, President John Adams and his wife Abigail, move in when construction is nearly complete some 8 years later. 1925.
I'll strive unceasingly to try to fulfill the trust and confidence that the British people have placed in me and the things in which I believe.
Margaret Thatcher, Britain's first female prime minister, is born in Grantham in eastern England. Dubbed the Iron Lady, the Conservative Thatcher dominates British politics during more than a decade in power. 1903. In Boston, the first modern World Series in Major League Baseball ends in victory for the home team. The Boston Americans shut out the Pittsburgh Pirates 3-0, clinching the series 5-3. 1974.
The city never has witnessed the excitement stirred by these youngsters from Liverpool.
Ed Sullivan, the longtime TV variety show host, dies in New York at age 72.
A baby born alive after an abortion allowed to die. Abortions after unborn babies can feel pain. Abortions up until the moment of birth. This is part of the extreme agenda of pro-abortion politicians, but you can fight back. Send a message to pro-abortion politicians. Sign the pro-life pledge at vshl.org and vote in the November 3rd election. Don't let pro-abortion politicians enact their deadly agenda. Sign the pro-life pledge at vshl.org.
The Chinese Communist Party took our jobs, killed our loved ones, and gave us the coronavirus. Enough. It's time to boycott China. Spread the word. Boycott China. Go to getoutofchina.us and order Boycott China stickers for your car, your business. Share with your family and friends. Boycott China. Go to getoutofchina.us. Getoutofchina.us now.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network and the John Fredericks Radio app, and I am your Godzilla of the truth in America, your oracle of the deplorables. Bob Good, running for Congress. He'll be with us momentarily. You're in the right place at the right time. We're trucking the truth. Hey, don't forget to go to the Virginia Star. We love the Virginia Star. It's hot. It's new. Real news for real people. No fake news. Hey, we've gotten a lot of people's attention. Our page view is way up. We're getting over 30,000 a day. Unbelievable. We did nothing to promote it other than my radio show and you reading it. Go to thevirginiastar.com. Go there every day. You want to be sure when you get up, first thing you go to. Bookmark it. Go to thevirginiastar.com. We'd appreciate it. Thevirginiastar.com. Hottest thing in Virginia, thevirginiastar.com. My new daily newspaper. I call it my young staff, very aggressive. They're doing very well. They're learning, and so support them also. It's not exactly the kiddie brigade, but kind of. Average age, 23. But they're good kids, and we're training them right. They're doing an excellent job. So go to thevirginiastar.com, thevirginiastar.com, and you're good to go. Bob Good coming up here momentarily on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Hey, this segment brought to you by American Majority Action. You want to save the world? How about just start with saving America? If you want to help save your country this November, join our team in American Majority Action. Now, difference than anybody, American Majority Action, we're looking for volunteers in the last 20 days. You want to knock on doors? Great. You want to make phone calls? You want to lick envelopes? You want to do emails? You want anything you want to do? Peer-to-peer texting. They'll set you up. And here's the thing. They'll pay you for it. We will pay for volunteers. I thought, how do a volunteer get paid? Isn't that an oxymoron? Well, that's what the Democrats do. We know that a lot of people with COVID, they got to work, they got two jobs, or driving Uber, whatever. We get it. So we want to pay you for your time. But you can save America too. Best thing ever. We have figured this out. American Majority Action. We will pay for your time to volunteer for Trump and for conservatives across Virginia. This is all you have to do. All you have to do is email winvirginia2020@gmail.com. WinVirginia, spell it out, 2020@gmail.com, and say, hey, I'm interested in helping in the last 20 days. Liz Dickinson, our state director, she's the bomb. She's so great. She will fit you in whatever your hours are. You want to work 20 hours or 40 hours, you can do that. You want to work 5 a week, 10, you can do that. We'll fit it to your schedule. WinVirginia2020 at gmail.com. That's all you have to do and get rolling. Joining us now, running for Congress, 5th District Republican. This is the seat that Denver Riggleman held. He defeated Denver in a convention, and he is the nominee. Bob Good. Bob, welcome to the show.
Hey, John. Great to be with you, and thanks for having me. If anything shows how important this election is, it's you and I being together on the radio this morning.
Well, listen, Bob, we've had our differences, and I want to start by addressing that up front. We were very nasty. We, meaning myself, my company, my political action committee, Make Virginia Great Again. We were downright hostile to you during the campaign. We were mean, nasty, and not my best foot forward. A lot of the things that we said in the heat of the campaign, I wish I could take back. But look, we were for Denver, and a lot of the things that we did, we raised money in our PAC specifically to beat you. And so we didn't have a lot on you op-ed, opposition-wise. I think you had a parking ticket when you were 19 or something. It was just not a lot there, Bob. We had nothing to go on. But, look, I was nasty. I'm sorry for that, Bob. And no excuses on it. I'd ask now that we be able to turn the page because you're the nominee. We have to get you elected to Congress. You won the convention. And you won it handily. It wasn't even close. I mean, you got 58%. You beat an incumbent who outspent you 5-1 and got 58%. So you're the clear winner, and we need you in Congress. President Trump needs you in Congress, and we need you to win the 5th District. So I hope you'll accept my apology for that, and we can move on together.
John, thanks for your graciousness. I appreciate it, what you had to say when we were together on Saturday at the pig roast there in Greene County, and I appreciate you did a great job of expressing how we got to move forward together. And as you kind of said, and as others have noted, nothing will unite you like the threat of Marxism. And that's really what we're facing in my race as well as the race nationally. And as you alluded to, I was disappointed in some of the what I felt were very dishonest attacks in the past during the campaign. And I appreciate what you've said on that. But I will tell you, you and the folks who were on the other side, if you will, during the nomination process, you certainly got me battle-tested and ready for the general election. And I appreciate the big picture that you have about we've got to move forward together. We've got to defeat this threat that's on the horizon. And you and I both know, as many have said, it's the most important election of our lifetime, and so much is at stake. The stakes couldn't be higher.
Well, Bob, I will certainly take credit for preparing you for battle in the fall. No question about that. I single-handedly did that. So when you win, you probably remember me and said, Fredericks, as much as I was mad at him because he couldn't find anything except a parking ticket on me, at least he did prepare me for battle, so you got that. But here's the deal. Anybody that's listening to me now in the 5th District, honestly, if you voted for Denver and you were upset, I get it, right? I was also. But it's over. The day Bob won, you got to turn the page. And here's my message to anybody that voted for Denver and is thinking about, I'm going to skip the congressional race, or I'm going to sit this out, or this or that. Look, Bob won. Get over it, okay? He's the nominee, and we have now a binary choice. We have Bob Good, or we have Cameron Webb, who is going to come on my show and do exactly what Abigail Spanberger did and exactly what Elaine Loria did and say, I'm going to vote my conscience, I'm going to vote with the district, I'm going to represent the people, I'm going to be different, I'm going to stand up, and then they're going to get there and they're going to vote with AOC and Pelosi and do exactly what they say, just like Spanberger did. Bob, am I right?
No question about it. If my opponent were to win, after voting, the first vote he would cast would be for Pelosi, or maybe even somebody more extreme for Speaker like AOC. And the second thing he would vote for, if the Dems control the House and President Trump wins, I believe he will, he would vote to impeach the president, because the Dems are already threatening to do that again. They're already threatening to undo the election if President Trump wins. And you're right, John. This is truly an election, is on a referendum, if you will. Is America good or is America bad? Do we want to preserve the things that make this the greatest nation in the world and continue to build on those, and continue to move forward what the president has done? Or do we want to tear down the country, destroy it, and remake it in a Marxist socialist image? That is truly on the ballot.
Well, Bob, tell me about your campaign, your financial resources. Are you going to be competitive? Where do you stand now here in the 5th District?
Yeah, we've raised about $1 million on our own, if you will, since we became the nominee a little over 3 months ago. We're also getting some help from the party. We're getting some help from some outside entities, and so we're going to have a couple $1 million to spend on this race to make sure we win it. We're on TV with a number of ads. My opponent got a head start, as you know. The Dems just have the money roll in.
Yeah.
And originally, the convention was supposed to be April 25, which would have gave us, that was by design. It was as early as possible. The district committee had decided. So we'd have 60-day advantage almost over the Democrat nominee, whoever moved forward from the convention. We lost that advantage with the delay of the convention until June 13. So we got out of the gate behind financially as a nominee, and the Dems, the money just rolls in, just like it did after Ginsburg passed away. The Dems raised hundreds of millions of dollars immediately to fight the Supreme Court nomination battle. Republicans didn't respond that way. But we're going to have a minimum of a couple $1 million to spend on the race. We're on TV with several ads right now. And we are going to be successful in exposing the differences between me and my opponent. And because his positions are totally out of step with the majority voters in the 5th District, he's going to be rejected on November 3rd. They're going to vote for us because they know that I'm going to continue the policies of the president to support him and apply conservative economic principles, conservative principles on improving health care, conservative principles on safely reopening the economy, supporting law enforcement instead of defunding the police, which my opponent has advocated for. So we expect to prevail, and we'll have the resources to do it.
Bob Good with us. Bob Good, the Republican nominee for Congress in the 5th District, the seat currently held by Denver Riggleman. Bob Good defeated him in a convention on June 13th. He is the nominee. The Democratic nominee, Dr. Cameron Webb saying that he's going to be independent and he's going to vote with the district and not with Pelosi. But you were indicating that Dr. Webb, great credentials, says he's not going to be a Pelosi sycophant. Why do you think that's not true?
Well, if you look at the positions that he had to advocate for and had to express in order to become the nominee, he dominated the Democrat primary with some 66% of the vote in a four-person field because he was the most radical, most leftist, most socialist of the group. We know who the base vote is in a Democrat primary. There's a reason why pre-nomination, he was the only one endorsed by the squad, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren. As we both know, Kamala was rated the most liberal, progressive senator in the Senate, which is hard to do with Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. But my opponent is against the border wall. He's for single-payer health care. He's for free college for everybody. He's for the Green New Deal. He's for returning to the Paris Climate Accords. He's for repealing the Trump tax cuts. He's for reversing the deregulation that the president has implemented. Again, he's for defunding the police. He's already helped them advocated for, and it passed in Charlottesville, eliminating school resource officers. He's marched with the radical BLM organization. He's knelt with them. He's reposted their social media, no justice, no peace. So he is a radical leftist like the whole Democrat Party is. You can't get nominated today without adhering to that agenda. And as you and I both know, the Republicans, you'll have some variance in the party. Some people, a little more moderate, some a little more conservative, everything in between. And sometimes you'll have folks split from the party in a vote. That never happens on the Democrat side. It never happens. They vote in lockstep. That's why the fellow up in New Jersey had to change parties, even though he votes with the Democrats 80% of the
Van
time,
Drew.
because they don't tolerate it. They don't tolerate it, and they won't tolerate it with Webb either. Plus his ideology is consistent with them anyway.
Well, look, that is one thing about the Democrats, Bob Good, that we can agree on. They stick together. There's no question about it. Doesn't matter what they say in a primary or an election. At the end of the day, they stick together. They never leak. They do exactly what the leadership tells them to do. And Republicans, Bob, obviously from what you've seen in the 5th, et cetera, not so much. Bob Good, let's get to President Trump. His standing in your district is pretty good. Are there any substantial issues, policy issues, that you differ on from President Trump, other than gay rights?
You know, I support the president almost exclusively. I judge people in office by what they do, John, whether you're talking about someone in Congress or on the supervisor level, on the county level, or the state level. And folks can judge me by what I did in Campbell County based on my record for 4 years in Campbell County. I have a very conservative, solid record there of standing on principle and on conviction. And frankly, I judge the president on what he has done. You know, I acknowledged from the very beginning, early in the primary process, I was a Ted Cruz supporter. But when President Trump became the nominee, I was all in behind him. And he has exceeded my expectations along with just about everybody else. I believe he will win again. He won this district by 11 points last time. I think he's even more popular this time. But who that voted for Trump last time would not vote for him this time? As the president likes to joke, he's kept promises he didn't even make. But he is down the line, exceeded. You know, he is the best friend on life that we've ever had. He's the best friend on religious liberty we've ever had. He's the best friend we've had on conservative judges. In terms of putting America first. How is that a partisan issue to put America first? Confronting China, confronting North Korea, confronting Russia, confronting Iran, energy independence, issue after issue. He's the best president of my lifetime, securing our borders, the first president to secure our borders, in spite of not unified support from the party when we had the majority in his first 2 years in office, trying to repeal Obamacare, down the line, putting an executive order to protect pre-existing conditions, issue after issue. I stand with the president. And so there's not a lot of daylight there. Again, I judge him on what he's done. I'm thankful he's the president. I believe he'll be reelected. I believe he'll pick up support that he didn't have last time in the minority community, more working-class Democrats. Some religious conservatives who didn't vote for him last time will vote for him this time because of what he's done. So, I'm here to support the president and to praise what he's done and to say I will back him and support him in Congress. There's very little daylight between his positions and mine.
So we're with Bob Good. Bob is the Republican nominee for Congress in the 5th District in Virginia. That runs from Lynchburg, Danville, all the way to the south side. It's bigger than New Jersey, huge district. He's taken on Dr. Cameron Webb. He's the Democratic nominee. This will be decided November 3rd. And this is currently represented by Denver Riggleman, who Bob defeated in a convention on June 13th. Bob, let me ask you one question. One of the reasons, one of the key issues why you were able to become the nominee and defeat Denver Riggleman was over the gay issue and his marrying a gay couple. What do you have to say to the LGBTQ community in the 5th District about what your positions will be? And if I'm a gay person in the 5th District, what will your election mean to me, Bob?
Well, that is not an issue that we made an issue in the campaign. The media made it an issue. The other side made it an issue. I'm not shy about the fact, of course, as you know, John, that I'm a born-again Christian. I'm a conservative, and I believe in religious liberty. I believe in the right of everyone to believe how they want to believe, and that's protected in our country. I also respect the right for that people are going to believe differently and people are going to live their lives. I believe in independent liberty in that respect. But that's not an issue that we made an issue in the campaign. It's an issue that the media has made an issue in the campaign. It's not something that we focused on. And so we're focused on the things that matter most to the voters in this district and what they'll decide this election on, which is the economic principles of the president, whether or not we want further government take over our health care, which is what my opponent is pushing for. Whether we want school choice, the president and I are aligned on that too. School choice, my opponent is against school choice. Whether we want to continue energy independence or whether we want to implement the Green New Deal and whether or not we want to implement, go back to the Paris Climate Accords. Our Second Amendment rights are on the ballot. My opponent is for the gun restrictions that have been passed in Richmond. I don't believe that our gun rights ought to be infringed. Life is on the ballot. I am pro-life, unashamedly so. My opponent believes in abortion up to the moment of birth for any reason with no restrictions and taxpayer funding. There's a reason why he's endorsed by Planned Parenthood and NARAL and all those groups. And so Again, I'm a born-again Christian. I'm a conservative, absolutely, and I believe in religious freedom, which is under attack and it's under assault. And this election is another. You see that with Amy Coney Barrett, just because she's a person of faith and she has her own personal convictions. But I believe in the Constitution. It was so refreshing when Amy Coney Barrett was first introduced, and she said, "Hey, I love the United States of America, and I love the Constitution." And I would echo that, and I believe most people in the 5th District love the United States of America. They love the Constitution, and they want to preserve what is great about our country.
Bob, the stimulus package is stuck right now. The president's saying he's not going to continue to negotiate with Pelosi. But meantime, a lot of businesses, even in the 5th District, are suffering. The PPP ran out. They need another infusion. Many people face eviction in your district. They would like to get another stimulus check to help them out. How do you stand on that?
Well, I think that the first packages were too large and they were not targeted specifically to those most impacted. It was sort of a scattergun approach based on last year's income instead of based on whether or not you were directly affected this year. In the rush to get something done, I think it was too large. When you come into the pandemic with $24 trillion worth of debt, you can't separate that from the compassion and what you'd like to do. However, when you have a government-mandated shutdown through no fault of the businesses and the individuals, then you've got to provide some relief, targeted relief, specific relief. We've got to stop subsidizing not working, if you will. The amount of the unemployment was too much with the $600 that was added, and employers couldn't get folks back to work. Businesses couldn't get workers back. You're competing with the government. So I do believe we've got to get some targeted relief to those industries most affected, those individuals most affected. But the main issue, John, and here's where we're separated again between the president and Mr. Biden and myself and my opponent, safely get the economy open, safely get the kids back to school. We know what the threat is. We know who's most at risk. We know what kind of precautions to take, but we can't ruin everybody's life in an overreaction to the threat of the pandemic. Now that we've learned about it, we've made great progress on therapeutics. We've made great progress on almost having a vaccine. We've got the testing in place, testing 5-6 million people a week. So open the economy, let folks get back to work, respect and trust business owners, job creators, and the American people. Get kids in school where they need to be. Kids are at such low risk. Learning is essential. But yes, selective, targeted relief to those most impacted.
Bob Good with us. Final question. What is your message to those people in the district listening to us right now who voted for Denver Riggleman, supported Denver in the nomination battle, and are upset that he's not their nominee? What is your message to them, Bob?
Well, my message to them is the same as to everybody across the 5th District. I'm going to stand on the Constitution. I'm going to stand up for our Second Amendment rights. I'm going to stand up for our religious freedoms. I'm going to stand up for life. I'm going to stand up for the economic principles that make America great, free market capitalism, and up what the president has done to give us the greatest economy we've ever had. I'm going to stand up for protecting and improving private insurance versus a government takeover like my opponent would do. I'm going to stand up for energy independence that we're all enjoying with the low gas prices, the economic freedom that we have, the security freedom that we have, not depending on foreign nations for our vital energy. All of these things my opponent is against. I'm going to stand up for law and order. I'm going to stand up with our police. That's why I'm endorsed overwhelmingly by the large number of sheriffs in our district. My opponent's called for defunding the police. He stands with the radical movement that threatens our country, that threatens our nation. And again, I believe America is good. And there's things worth preserving that have made us the greatest nation in the world. My opponent is aligned with those who believe America is bad and believes we need to destroy it. We need to tear it down. We need to remake it into a socialist, Marxist nation. And that's what's on the ballot.
Have you patched things up with Denver, Bob?
Well, I wish Denver well. I'm grateful for his service, and I'd love to have his support in this election. I certainly hope to have the support of everybody who supported him. And so I look forward to hopefully working with him in the future.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was for Denver, and you have mine. You have my 100% backing. Denver's going to do what he's going to do. I get it. He's an adult. But you got my 100% backing. Bob, you're the nominee. You're going to be a great congressman. You're going to win. You're going to have Trump's back. If you're in the 5th District and you're still mad about this convention, hey, dudes, get over it, okay? Get over it. We need Bob Good in Congress. We need him there in November. Go out, do your part, knock on doors, get Trump a big victory in the 5th District, and let's get Bob Good to Congress. John Fredericks Radio Network. Bob, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, John. Great to be with you.
John Fredericks Radio Network. We'll be right back. Stay with us.